Cloud recording has started.
Thank you. I'll wait one more minute. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on the child tax credit. My name is Elaine Zimmerman. I'm with the Administration for Children and Families, and we are really honored to be here with you and so grateful for your time and effort here. I will be leading this with colleagues from the Biden administration, in the White House, in the Treasury, with various partners over at the Office of Early Childhood Development, and critically important, with parent leaders from across the United States who are joining this conversation today. I'd like to give a shout out to all the regional administrators of ACF who are on the line, the White House, the Treasury, particularly Deputy Assistant Secretary Deborah Johnson, who's taken the lead in HHS and ACF in moving this along and assuring that we're all informed about the tax credit. And also a real shout out to Melissa Brodowski from the Office of Early Childhood Development, who's been really a team player in moving this along and is joining us today. We have with us today several parent leaders from across the United States, as well as different parent collaborations. This particular webinar is very focused on what we can do on the regional level, on the state level, what we can do on the ground, what parents can do, what community agencies can do, and how, in truth, we can do this together. So we're not working in silos and we have the best impact. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to share an intro and context. We're going to talk to you about how one can sign up for the child tax credit. We'll have a set of question and answer time for you. So please put your questions and answers in the Zoom function for questions and answers. We will take all the questions up. Dr. Hauer will be curating your questions during this hour. There will be a follow-up to this in Spanish, and we'll be alerting all of you for when that will be, should you be interested. And all the materials are also available in other languages. And there'll be follow-up materials that will follow this call. So everything that is referenced will be available to you, and you yourself can curate which materials you like and you would like to use in your community. The reason that we're doing this is that the child tax credit truly has the potential to have somebody make a choice to leave poverty in a way that, in truth, we don't have a choice. When we're really stuck in the hole of poverty, it is almost impossible to get out, and it's really hard to see forward. But the child tax credit isn't $100. It's $9,000. It's $10,000. If I'm a single mom with 3 children, I'm going to get approximately $9,000. That is enough for me to leave an abusive relationship. It's enough for me to leave a homeless shelter. And it is enough for me to fix my car and get a job in the next town. Essentially, at the end of the day, where people are so stuck, and many of us know this personally who are on this line, so stuck that you can't look forward. And it's a little annoying when people talk to you that way because it's just impossible to get out of the rut. This amount of money can actually make a monumental choice to shift out and to move forward. And that is why the 170 people on this line are on this line, because we actually know that the child tax credit is different, monumental, and historic. It's a historic point. So several people have questions. How can we make sure that the 4 million or so who haven't signed up learn the facts so they have the choices? Who is it who's not signing up? It's somebody who's afraid they're going to lose their social safety net. So they think that if they do this, they're going to lose their childcare or their housing. It's someone who doesn't trust government. It's someone who might fear that they're going to be deported. It's someone who is so exhausted and overstressed, they simply haven't paid any attention to this at all. And frankly, they don't even know about it. It might be someone who, at the end of the day, is in a homeless shelter, heard something, but nobody's actually helped them. So here's our strategy here. We believe that with trusted messengers who could be a trusted community agency. It could be a trusted parent messenger. With trusted messengers plus safe navigators in a safe and familiar locale, which might be a civic locale like a library or a schoolhouse, we believe that we can sign people up and see thousands more join the folds. That is the reason for this meeting. What we're going to do is we're going to hear how to do this. We're going to see literally the mechanisms of the more simplified version of signing up. There'll be time for you to ask any question that you wish. And we will then hear some examples of what states are doing where they're doing things that are parent focused. With this, I'd like to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Toyin Anderson, who is a parent leader, has gone through parent leadership training through the Parent Leadership Training Institute, and is a member of United Parent Leaders Action Network, which is a coalition of parents and parent leaders across the United States. Toyin.
Thank you, Elaine. So once again, my name is Toyin Anderson, and I am coming to you from New York State. I am on this call with you, Elaine, and majority of my colleagues because the child tax credit is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for parents, families to definitely make a dent into probably whatever has been keeping us from moving forward with the possibilities. We know that, people are having, mixed messages, are not clear messages on how this is done, who qualifies for it, and how they can access it. So we are coming to you at this moment to assist you with that procedure and process. I am also here as a parent leader, to say to you that I am also a recipient of the child tax credit. I have children that qualifies my household and the income to receive these payments, and I've done so. So I am saying this that, it's definitely helped my household to definitely move things along for my children that probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do. So I'm here as a parent screaming loud and clear that I want any and every family that qualifies for this resource to be able to tap into it and help our family and America to be on a stronger path. Families being able to do things, go places, have assets that we weren't able to access before this opportunity came about. So I am here, and I'm here to answer questions if you have any, along with my colleague, to say yes, this thing is real. It's not an hoax, and we are willing to help you, like myself, who is definitely somebody who says, yes, I'm a regular parent. I'm just here as a parent leader, just to pass my message to other parents and families on this call to say, yes, let's tap into this resource and help our families. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toyin. It's really great. I just appreciate the passion and your leadership, and I know how many parents you've actually helped sign up. So we can see that parents as messenger to other parents, that's the most trusted message there is, because then it's safe, and I trust Toyin. So if she knows it's okay, then I know it's okay. So thank you for that. I'd like to introduce Yasmin Raji now, who's the Senior Advisor to the Recovery Program Outreach at the U.S. Department of Treasury. She's going to give us the information on how this works, how to use the simplified tool. And then I'm going to introduce Colin Campbell, who's the Attorney Advisor, Tax Ledge Counsel in the Treasury Office on tax policy. And he's going to answer your questions that Josie's going to shout out for him. Okay, Yasmin, take it away.
Thank you so much, Elaine, and thank you so much, Toyin, for an inspirational start. As you rightly said, I think it was the perfect tone to set for this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we're hoping this program is really transforming lives, as you rightly said, and we're hoping that we can make it not just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but something that lasts for the long haul. So thank you for all your work, and excited for this conversation. I'm going to share my screen, so folks just give me 1 second to make sure that things are set up so that you can see my slides here. All right. So as Elaine and Toyin said, we're going to be talking about the child tax credit. This is, as many folks on the line know, you are parents who many of yourselves have received the child tax credit. Many of you are hearing questions about this program. This is a once-in-a-generation anti-poverty program that is transforming lives all across the country for the vast, vast majority of Americans. So we're excited to talk a little bit about the details about what this program is and how we can, each of us has a role to get out the word to every single person who could benefit. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be going over today. I'm going to first give everybody an overview of what the child tax credit is. For some of you, that's going to be an overview of things you already are really familiar with. For others, maybe you've heard about this program, but this is going to be newer information to deep dive in there. And then I'm going to walk through childtaxcredit.gov, which is a website where you're going to receive an email afterwards with all of the materials that I'm going to go through today. But this is a website which will be sort of the one-stop shop for the majority, for everything that we go over today. And it's also going to be the place where you'll have the opportunity to actually sign up the people who haven't filed taxes, who haven't received their child tax credit yet. You can find the kind of pathway to that website on childtaxcredit.gov, which brings me to the next point in the agenda, which is I'll go through a demo of that, what we call the non-filer sign-up tool, so that each and every one of us feels ready and equipped to reach out to other parents, other folks who have not yet received this credit who could benefit from the program. Then I'm going to go through all of the materials that are going to land in your inbox after this training so that you're familiar with what the content on those is. And then Colin is going to walk us through a Q&A. So prepare any questions in the Q&A feature of the chat throughout the presentation as they come up. And Colin's going to get through as many questions as we can today. Anything unanswered, we'll be happy to follow up with. So just to kick things off, our goal here is to make sure that families know that help is here. It has been, as you all know, just as well as I do, a brutal couple of years all across this country. And finally, we're excited that there's going to be a breath of relief through this program. There is one already. And so you don't need to hear that from me. You're going to hear it from someone far better equipped than I am, Vice President Kamala Harris, talking a little bit about this program and what it means.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and participating in this training. It is critical that we get the word out about the child tax credit, and we would not be able to do this work without you. With the expansion of the child tax credit, we are supporting our nation's working families. We are strengthening our nation's middle class, and we are helping to lift half of America's children who are living in poverty out of poverty. Just think about that. The impact of that will be historic, seismic even. And it will be felt not only by the children of today, it will be felt by families and communities and by our country for generations to come. And that is something to celebrate. And as we celebrate, let us also remember our work is not yet finished. We need to make sure American families know about this credit and how they can receive it. And I know you know this, but it bears repeating. If folks file taxes for 2019 or 2020 or a stimulus check, they do not have to do anything. They will get the child tax credit automatically. If they did not file taxes for 2019 or 2020 or a stimulus check, they do have to take action. They need to visit childtaxcredit.gov. I'm going to say that again, childtaxcredit.gov, and fill out a simple form. The President and I need your help to spread the word and to fight to make expansion of the child tax credit permanent. You know, after the President signed the American Rescue Plan into law, I said this: Americans will see what we did here, and they will feel the impact of this bill for generations to come. And that is certainly true. So thank you again for your partnership and for your leadership, and know that the President and I will never stop fighting for our children, for our families, and for our nation. Thank you and take care.
Right.
Hi.
So as you all heard from the Vice President herself, this is a historic program. It is also a seismic program in terms of scale. Elaine said rightly up front, we're not talking about a couple $100. We're talking about real financial support that can change families' lives and can give them the breathing room that they need during what's been a really complicated and difficult few years. So we've got two goals in today's training. First and foremost, to make sure that each and every one of us on the line is aware and understands all of what the child tax credit is. All of us get all sorts of information every day. We're going to actually go through sort of all the different steps and amounts that different families are going to be eligible for, so that each of you can help spread the word for all of the millions of families and all the families and other parents that you all are in touch with day to day, to make sure that the families that are receiving that benefit know just how seismic this program is, and also know that this is a program that could go away if we don't continue pushing for and advocating for it to become a permanent program. Second, we're going to talk about how to engage the families who are eligible for this program but have not yet filed their taxes. So you heard Vice President Kamala Harris talk a little bit about this, and we're going to deep dive shortly. But there are a lot of folks who didn't file taxes in 2019 or in 2020, who didn't sign up for their stimulus checks, and they are eligible. That's about 4 to 8 million families is our estimate. Those folks could be receiving this incredible benefit, but they need our help to actually navigate how to sign up and how to get this benefit, as they're not receiving that automatically. So we're going to go through how to do that, how to make sure that those folks get the word out, and actually how to sign them up at childtaxcredit.gov. So let's dive into some of the numbers that Elaine already started to allude to at the beginning. What does this program actually mean for every single child? This is an increase for every single child for the vast majority of American families compared to what families were eligible for before. So we're talking about $3,600 for every single child in this country who is under 6 years old. That's an increase of $1,600 compared to what those children were eligible for before. It's also a program that allows for $3,000 total for every single child 6 to 17 years old, which is a $1,000 increase from what the program was before. So that means that all working families will get the full credit if they make under $150,000 a year for a couple, or $112,500 for a single family with children, or someone who files their taxes as a head of household. You all know just as well as I do, under $150,000 or $112,000 a year for families is the vast majority of folks in this country. So when we're talking about this program, this is a program for middle-class families, for working-class families, for low-income families. Really everyone except for the top sort of 1% of families are going to be benefiting from this program, and that is a huge deal. The other thing that we're really excited about the way that this program was structured is that the vast majority of folks are receiving these monthly payments automatically. So the people who filed their taxes sometime in the past couple of years will receive half of their child tax credit payments from July through September 2021. So they'll receive $300 every month for every child under 6. And you'll see that that number then adds up to what we just talked about on the left side of the screen, or $250 each month for every child between 6 and 17 years old. So that all happens until December of 2021. And then after they file their taxes for 2022, they'll receive the other half of their child tax credit payment at that point. So all of that is a big deal, because that means that families that are eligible don't need to file new paperwork, et cetera, beyond filing their taxes, which they're already going to be doing. For those of us who get our IRS refunds through direct deposit, for all of those families, they're going to get their child tax credit payments in their bank account automatically. The IRS already has their bank information, and they'll receive it on the 15th of every month, which is a big deal, because you all know just as well as I do, we like to be able to count on when money's going to be coming in to be able to pay bills, pay rent, et cetera. For the folks who don't receive those direct deposits, either because that's not their preference or maybe they don't have a bank, as long as they've got an address that is filed with the IRS through their taxes, they will receive those payments by mail around the same time. It may not be exactly on the 15th, just depends on sort of mail cycles, but it's still every single month these checks are coming in the mail and folks don't need to continue filing new paperwork. So the child tax credit payment, again, as you heard from the Vice President, is a transformative, huge scale program that is benefiting almost every single family in this country. And it's helping folks with the things that families really do need help on, whether that's paying rent, whether that's getting groceries on the table, or whether that's actually being able to have a little bit of breathing room to do things like save for college, have a rainy day fund for additional things that might come up for a family. You all also know, because you're parents, because you work with parents across the country, that when parents can afford to live and aren't nervous about making that rent payment for the month or getting groceries on the table, when that happens, kids do better. Kids, it's proven, and you all know this firsthand through the work that you do day to day. Kids have better health. They have better educational attainment. They have higher future earnings. They have lower stress levels. All of that is a big deal and is exactly why this is a program that we want to make sure is here to stay, so that, as the Vice President said, we are talking about a generational change that doesn't just impact families in the moment, but is transforming the lives of their kids for the long haul. You all also know from the work that you do on the front lines all across this country in supporting families and other parents that 40% of families in this country, very unfortunately, cannot afford an unexpected $400 expense. That is a horrendous state that we are in as a country, but the good news is that the child tax credit, as Elaine said up front, the amount of money that we're talking here allows families to have a little more breathing room. So when that $400 expense comes, whether it's something that's broken in the car, whether it's an unexpected medical bill, there's that extra family is able to actually cover that expense and focus on all the things that families want to focus on with a little bit less stress in the day-to-day financially. So not only is this a program that is allowing that breathing room and leading to those better outcomes for kids, it's also a program that all of the economists over at the Treasury Department, you're going to be hearing from one of our experts shortly, know that this is a program that is stabilizing the economy for everyone. And that is also a big deal, because this is something, actually a report just came out today, I believe it was in the New York Times, about just how much the child tax credit has done to make the economy much more stable than it would have been during COVID. We all lived through what was a very, very challenging time and the biggest recession of our lifetimes. But thanks to those stimulus checks, the EITCs, our economy is now stable. Knock on wood, may that stay for a while, and may we continue having programs like this that keep it stable. But the reason for that is because when we've got a little bit of extra breathing room for groceries or back to school supplies, spending increased at all levels and brought small businesses revenue, brought in, MasterCard put out a big report about just how much spending was great for the economy, specifically because of the child tax credit program. So that is a big deal for getting America back on track after these really tough couple of years. Oops, my slide is not, oh, there we go. So like I mentioned, just even today, there was a big article on this. We're seeing a lot of the incredible numbers about the impact of this program all across the media. And here are just a few highlights that we wanted to bring up. First is that the first round of child tax credit payments that went out slashed hunger rates in a really, really remarkable way, which again, we hope to build a country where we don't have hunger anywhere in this country. But this is a proven intervention that has brought hunger rates down in a way that has impacted families all across the country. So that's, and like I mentioned earlier, a lot of families are spending the money on food. That's actually about half of the families that are spending their child tax credit payment on food, which is putting food on the families and leading to that better health and better stability for so many Americans. In addition, just one child tax credit payment reduced financial anxiety for 56% of families. We're talking over half of families have felt some type of financial anxiety of some kind. Were able to breathe easier for those same reasons. They've got a little bit of extra money in the account for groceries, for rent, for these critical things that when we're not able to pay them, just lead to anxiety that impacts families and impacts their kids. And of course, economic hardship declined in households that had children as those tax credit payments arrived, which is great news and a sign of just how wonderful this program is. The unfortunate news, and what we'll get into in a moment, is the reason we know that is because the families without children have been suffering much more because this program has not been accessible to them. So this is a program that we really need to stay for the long haul so that families with children continue to be able to breathe easy. So again, some great numbers around that first child tax credit payment. According to the Census Pulse Survey, food instability among all families with children fell by 24%. So it's no surprise that we saw on the previous slide, about half of families were spending the money on food. Food instability is a huge crisis, as you all know, in this country, and about a quarter of that food instability dropped just because of the first payment. So we've got to keep that money flowing out to families and make sure that we're touching anyone with food instability with children that isn't yet signed up for this program. A Columbia analysis also found that low-income families with children who received the first monthly payment experienced a 43% decline in food insufficiency. So again, for low-income families, this is a program that is having a monumentally big difference, making a monumental difference that we need to maintain. That same analysis also found that the share of families who had missed mortgage or rent payments and the share of families who had reported difficulty with expenses, those fell with the delivery of the first payment. So these are all just examples and evidence of what we know to be true, which is this is a program that is changing the economic outcomes for families and allowing them to pay their basic expenses. So this is a chart, again, to kind of reiterate the same message around how much this is helping families avoid hunger, which is this is a chart of families who reported sometimes or often not having enough to eat. And if you look at that area that's circled in red, you'll see that that is a very sharp decline around the timing of those child tax credit payments. And we want those numbers to keep coming down as payments continue over time. So we talked about this being a program that is impacting the vast majority of Americans, everyone except for that sort of top 1%. But this is also a program that's having an asymmetrically positive impact on lower income children and families. 26 million lower income children will be lifted out of poverty this year because of this program. So the Office of Tax Analysis at the Treasury Department estimates that over 26 million children who are in lower income families are going to be receiving the full expanded child tax credit, which, if you remember from one of the earlier slides, is a difference of $1,600 or $1,000 per child, depending on their age. And if you've got multiple children, that's in the thousands that families are receiving. And these are families who previously would have received much less than the full credit because their families earned too little and they didn't qualify. So that's a really, really big deal for lower income families. Before the American Rescue Plan, which is the plan that the child tax credit was a part of, half of Black and Latino children and 1 in 3 of all children lived in families that did not receive the full child tax credit. So again, reiterating that this is a program that's asymmetrically benefiting lower income children, children of color, families of color, in a way that we need to maintain over time so that every single family has opportunities to breathe easy and pay their bills. So we're going to dive in next into how families actually get the money and the mechanics of some of this, which we've touched on, but we're going to get into a little bit more detail. So people who filed their taxes, as Vice President Harris said, get this automatically. If they filed taxes in 2019, they filed taxes in 2020, or if they signed up to receive their economic impact payments or their stimulus checks or stimmies, some call them, from the IRS, those folks are already in the system, so they don't have to do anything. They're just getting the money automatically. And again, they're receiving it either through direct deposit or they're getting a check in the mail as long as their address information is up to date. Non-filers, and that's the people who did not file their taxes in 2019, 2020, or did not get their stimulus payments, they're not currently receiving this unless they've signed up. And so we're going to spend some time talking about how they can sign up to receive these payments at childtaxcredit.gov. The great other benefit is we're focused on the child tax credit on this training, but once they do sign up, they're also going to receive their economic impact payments or stimulus checks because they're also eligible for those, but probably haven't received those either. So before I dive into a demonstration of the tool, each of you as parents and doing outreach to other parents, we're excited to be able to see you all do some outreach to others. And the training that we're about to go through of how to use the tool. Will take about 20 minutes for each sign up, but it'll take about 20 minutes if you've got all of the sort of materials and information that you need on the front end. Without that, it might take a little bit longer. So this is the kind of checklist of things to bring when you want to sign a family up for this program, a non-filer family. Number one is a reliable mailing address so they can receive the check. The second is a phone number or email address so they can be contacted if there's anything that goes wrong and they are able to get information. Their children's social security numbers, their social security number or their ITIN number. We're going to talk, I'm sure in the Q&A, many of you are doing outreach to undocumented families. As long as the kids have social security numbers, it's okay if the parent does not. So ITIN numbers can come in handy there and we can answer additional questions there. And then their bank account information if they want to receive the payment by direct deposit. Some of you are going to be doing outreach to homeless families, folks who are not in the banking system. That's totally fine. They just need a reliable mailing address if they don't have bank account information. So with that, I'm going to exit this presentation. I'm going to go to the next section of my screen where you're going to see a short video. And in this video, you are going to see a little bit, you're going to see what the tool is to sign people up.
This video will show you how to use Code for America's simplified tax filing portal, GetCTC. GetCTC is a new tool that allows families without a tax filing obligation to file a simplified 2020 tax return to access the new expanded child tax credit and any of the 3 stimulus payments. GetCTC e-files a simplified return directly with the IRS. It's mobile-friendly, available in English and Spanish, and chat assistance is available at any point in the process. People without children can use it too, just to access stimulus payments. First, GetCTC will go through a few steps to confirm that it's the right tool for me. The tool will check first that I'm allowed by the IRS to do simplified filing, since those with higher incomes are required to file a full return. GetCTC will then warn me that I could get even more money by filing a full return, since I can't get the EITC or state credits from this tool. Those who choose this option are sent to getyourrefund.org, which allows families to file full tax returns through VITA services. For now, I'll opt to continue with this tool. Next, GetCTC will check whether I filed a 2020 return this year already. If I already submitted a return, the IRS would reject a new one I file through this tool. And the tool will check if I filed a 2019 return. If I did, the tool would confirm whether I needed to file this new return at all, and if so, it would collect my 2019 adjusted gross income, which the IRS requires from filers for authentication purposes. In this case, I'll say that I didn't file last year. Finally, GetCTC will confirm I lived in the United States last year, and it will confirm that no one can claim me as a dependent, since that would make me ineligible for CTC and stimulus payments. In the next section, GetCTC asks for some basic information about me. I'll enter my name, date of birth, and social security number. Note that I can also enter an ITIN. As required by the IRS, GetCTC asks for my phone number. It also asks if I was a member of the armed forces in 2020, since that could impact the amount of my recovery rebate credit. GetCTC does not require users to create an account and does not require them to have an email address. Users simply have to sign up using their phone or their email. In this case, I'll choose to sign up by phone. GetCTC will send me a 6-digit code that I must enter to confirm that phone number is indeed mine. For purposes of this demo, I'll enter a fake code on this page. In the next section, if I'm married, GetCTC will collect needed information about my spouse. I'll enter my spouse's name, date of birth, and social security number, or ITIN. After I enter my spouse's information, GetCTC will display what I entered to confirm it's right. In the next section, GetCTC allows me to list my 2020 dependents. Rather than assume I've read all the rules, GetCTC asks me all the questions I need to answer to make sure I can claim my dependents. Keep in mind that the pages users see in this section very much depend on the answers they provide. First, I'll enter my dependent's basic information: name, date of birth, and relationship to me. GetCTC will ask a couple of other specific scenarios to confirm eligibility in certain cases. Next, GetCTC will ask me to confirm a few more criteria. If at any point my dependent doesn't meet the main criterion, GetCTC will ask whether one or more valid exceptions apply. Once it is clear that I can claim this dependent, GetCTC will ask for their social security number or adoption taxpayer identification number. Behind the scenes, GetCTC will determine which credits my dependent is eligible for. Finally, GetCTC will show me a list of my dependents, including whether they are eligible for CTC or only for stimulus payments. I can keep repeating this process until all my dependents are recorded. For now, I'll say I only have one dependent. In the next section, GetCTC will help me claim any stimulus payments I missed out on. While the IRS will calculate and issue the third stimulus payment automatically using the information on this return, the IRS requires families to calculate for themselves any amount of the first two payments they missed out on and report that amount directly on their return as the recovery rebate credit. GetCTC makes this process easier by calculating how much families should have received. If I got this amount, I would skip this section. Instead, I'll say I received less than this amount, and I have missing stimulus to claim. GetCTC will then help me figure out how much I received in the first two payments, including providing some tips about where to find the information. I'll say in this case that I received $1,200 in the first payment, and that I didn't receive any of the second payment. GetCTC will then let me review the amount I'm claiming, and confirm that I would like to claim it. Finally, GetCTC will collect my payment information, and allow me to review and submit my return. I can select direct deposit or a mailed check. In this case, I'll select direct deposit. GetCTC asks me to confirm that my name is on the bank account so the payment is not rejected. I'll provide my routing number and my account number. And finally, we'll have the chance to confirm my information. The IRS also requires that I provide my mailing address. GetCTC allows me to enter identity protection pins for anyone in my family who has one, and provides more information about what an IP pin is. I'll say that no one in my family has one. Now, I can review all the information I've submitted and go back to edit anything that's wrong. On this page, as required by the IRS, I set a 5-digit PIN that I can use to authenticate when I file next year. Finally, I'll agree to the legalese on the last page, and I'll file. Just like that, I've filed my simplified return. GetCTC will alert me within a couple days whether my return has been accepted or rejected by the IRS. You can find GetCTC at getctc.org. For more resources about the CTC and stimulus payments, visit getctc.org/navigators.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through that demo. I know for some folks on the line, sitting through a demo like that, you absorb everything, you feel ready, you feel fired up to reach out to other parents. For other folks on the line, you might feel like you sort of absorbed a small piece of that, but you don't quite feel ready. And I promise you, every single person on the line, no matter how technologically advanced or not advanced you may feel, this is an easy tool to use. And we're going to walk through all of the different resources that you'll have at your fingertips. So no matter how confident you feel today, you will feel confident signing up other parents in your communities for this really, really life-changing program. So I mentioned a couple times in the presentation that childtaxcredit.gov will be your home base for all of the information that you need. When you type in childtaxcredit.gov, you're going to be taken to this website on the White House page. It'll automatically redirect you there. On this website, which every single one of the materials that we're talking through today, including that tool that we just went over, all of that is available in either English or in Spanish. And so all of these materials, if you're going to be signing up families who are Spanish speaking and you yourself are a Spanish speaker, you can click on En Español and you can do it all in Spanish. So as you scroll down, a lot of the sort of numbers and top lines that we went over in this presentation, they're all included here. So if you didn't quite capture them in the notes, you're worried that you're not going to remember it, that's totally fine. All of the information is covered here. You'll get a reminder around all the numbers of what families are eligible, et cetera. So you're equipped to talk to families about just how impactful this program could be for their lives. So as you scroll down, you can opt for more information, et cetera, and you can continue going down. And there's quite a bit of information on here. So there's even examples at the bottom about sort of sample families and what they've been eligible for. I'm not going to scroll quite that far down because the key area that I want folks to pay attention to here is the non-filer sign up, which is the button that we'll press in order to take us onto the page that's going to get us to that tool that we just saw through the demo. So when I click on that button, I'm going to get to another page, also available in Spanish, which is more information about the child tax credit for non-filers. Again, that's people who didn't file taxes in 2019, 2020, and didn't sign up for a stimulus check. There's information about what that all means, and so you've got all the information that we went over today all here. That checklist that I went over on the last slide before we saw the video, that checklist is here, so that you've got that at your fingertips. And then you've got the button to click on the non-filer sign-up tool, which is that red and white tool we just saw in the video in the sample. Like I mentioned earlier, it'll typically take about 20 minutes to sign someone up. That video was obviously very fast. And so once you've actually got that information, you're going through it with a family, it'll take about 20 minutes to go through it. Now, there's also that you'll get the link for this one in your email after this presentation. But also, some of you might have absorbed every single bit of that video. Others want to actually, you may want to take some time to read through it. So this is a website that is exclusively resources for navigators like you. I know not just from the introductions that Elaine said, but also from watching the chat, this is a very committed group of parents. I think I saw Charlotte in Vermont is 39 weeks pregnant and still on this presentation. I think a sign of commitment of this group. You are really, really committed to spreading the word about the child tax credit. It's just incredible. So this is for navigators like yourselves, all of the information that you might need, a demo video just like what we just saw, as well as any additional resources that you might need so that you feel confident in signing up members of your community. And in case you forget anything, it's all here. You don't need to remember it all by heart. You'll also be receiving a step-by-step guide, which is sort of a PDF version or a written version of the video that we just saw with a lot of different screenshots, all the kind of information that you need, but also screenshots that you'll recognize from that video so that if the video is too fast for you, sometimes those videos can be too fast for me, you've got all the information that you need, and it's all a reminder here. You can print it out, just have it by your computer as you're signing folks up if that's something that's helpful to you. So with that, I'm going to go back to our presentation here. And just go over a few more things just about how to sign folks up, those non-filers that we desperately want to reach out to. So you all are experts in where parents gather in your communities. I know it's tougher now due to Delta on how to reach out to folks in person, but you all know where folks gather and where you reach people. So there's all sorts of different ways where navigators, parent navigators like yourself can sign folks up. Could be an event, maybe it's an outdoor event, maybe it's a virtual event at a place where parents gather in your community. You can also, for those of you who feel really excited about this and know other parents that would be equally excited to get the word out and reach different members of your community, you could train others. You're actually going to get a copy of this entire presentation and all those links that I mentioned, so you can be ready to do a training in your community, whether in person or virtually, to let others know how they too can sign non-filers up. And then as you're raising public awareness so that every single family in your community knows that they could be eligible for this program, you could share flyers. You're going to get, I'll show you what those flyers look like. You'll get a copy of them. But whether that's in schools and grocery stores and barbershops and congregations, anywhere where parents gather in your community, you'll have flyers where you could post those up. Of course, you can also post on social media. You'll get all the links and graphics and things like that you can share out. And also, you all do incredible partnership work all across the country. You can work with those local partners that you know reach families and know reach parents. Many of you all already can probably put together a list of half a dozen partners that you already work with. Those can be great places to help spread the word. So like I mentioned, you're going to get some flyers, so you don't need to make anything from scratch. This is just a kind of quick version of what the both English and Spanish language flyer looks like. I know it's small, so you'll be able to see the full larger version in your inboxes soon. But this is something that you could print out. You could send it as an email PDF if that's easier, and you'll be able to just to get the word out that way. You'll also get a copy of an outreach email so that you don't have to draft that. I know that can often be a very time-consuming thing and to put together an email like this. Customize it. It's all editable. You can put it in your own voice. You can reference the specific needs of your community in there. It's all editable for you. And you'll also get a copy of this presentation in PDF form, which you can use either for reminding yourself of things that you might have forgotten in the presentation, or also to train others. And finally, you saw this already in one of the websites that I showed, but you're going to get the link to this website, which is that step-to-step guide on how to actually use this portal as a navigator as you try to get the word out and get more folks signed up. So all of that is to say, you don't need to remember anything from this presentation. You just need to open up the email that you'll receive. childtaxcredit.gov is where all this information will live. Promise that every single person on here, no matter how technologically advanced you may feel, will have what it takes to sign folks up. And you really can make a difference in so many people's lives just by taking those 20 minutes to sign folks up. So with that, I'm really excited to turn to Josie, who's going to lead us in the Q&A with our in-house expert, Colin, who is one of the top experts on the CTC over at the Treasury Department. And I'll turn back to you all.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was terrific. We do have quite a few questions, and so I've sort of grouped them. So I'll go through a couple of them, and then we can have a response. So the first group is about the impact on the eligibility of benefits and legal status. Will I lose some of my safety net benefits? Can a parent be deported resulting from signing up for this tax credit? Can immigrant families apply? And how does this work for parents who are not living together but sharing custody and child caregiving?
That's quite the group, quite the group of questions. First of all, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Colin Campbell, and I work in the Treasury Department in tax policy. I was a public school teacher for a couple of years, and not a very good one, so I became a tax lawyer instead. And so the child tax credit's near and dear to my heart. But so I'll take the first question is, does receiving advance payments or the child tax credit affect any of my other benefits? And the answer is no. That's a flat no. I think your second question has something to do with immigration status, and that answer is also no, flat no. If you could just refresh my recollection of the third one.
Yeah. So can immigrant families apply for this?
Yes.
Okay, and if additional language help is needed, like are there translation services or
Yes.
a phone number people can go to where they can get information in their language?
Yeah, you can. The IRS provides that sort of assistance. So it's on their website, and we can. I mean, Ted's on this phone call. Or Zoom call. We can get that for you. And just as a related point, there are like identification requirements for the child tax credit, and and I saw a couple of questions in the chat about that. So the child will need a social security number. And if you've forgotten your child's social security number, or lost it, which I totally understand, I've lost mine. You can reach out to the SSA, Social Security Administration. They will get on the phone with you and walk through that process, and it requires some paperwork. The parent will just need a tax identification number, so not a social security number. Hopefully that was helpful, Josephine.
Great. Yeah, I think that's very helpful. Thank you. So now there's a lot of questions around custody and child support and dependents. So what about those who did not file their taxes but are eligible now due to the child being born after the 2020 tax season?
Right. So I think just for the group, the first sort of principle about the child tax credit and how advance payments are made is they're based on a prior year return. And so if the IRS knows you exist through a prior year return, either 2020 or 2019, well, as the vice president said, you really don't have much that you need to do. If the IRS doesn't have any record of you and you have a child this year, you can raise your hand to the IRS, but as of now, the best way for you to get that credit is to file on your 2021 tax return next year.
Okay, thank you. So what happens when the families share custody and split the tax years?
Right. And that's one of the, it's one of the interesting things about the way the child tax credit works. The statute is something that looks backwards. And so if you split custody and, the child is with you, this year, but your partner, claimed the child last year, the IRS is going to look to that return and make payments to your partner. And so what that means is, it's better.
Is he freezing up?
Yes.
To go on to the, to the website and raise your hand and claim the child. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought someone said something. Yeah, the best thing to do is just claim that child in your 2021 return. So.
Great.
I think,
thank you.
Am I freezing? I hope I'm not.
You did freeze, Colin, but now you're back. I think.
Good. I'm very sorry. My wife is working down the hall, so she might be eating up my connection. So.
Yeah.
Colin, is there a case where a family might need to pay back partial or all of the child tax credit when filing the 2021 taxes, such as changes to the gross adjusted income or child dependence claim?
Yes, I mean there's a safe harbor.
We're losing you, Colin. Let's see. You're back now.
It depends on the amount of your income. So I'm very sorry about that. I haven't had problems all day. This is so unlucky for me. But yes, there is a safe harbor where you don't have to pay back the child tax credit. So if you are below that amount, you have no liability whatsoever. I don't know if that's helpful, Josephine.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I think so, but there's other questions related to sort of debts and future taxes and stuff like that. So is the child tax credit protected from garnishment for debt owed to the federal government from a previous tax debt or student loan debt or USDA loans, medical debt from military base hospital, et cetera?
Right, so the advance payments are not protected from garnishment, but some states and local governments do have their own protections that would protect them. Now, the advance payments will not be offset for any federal debts, so that's helpful. However, the credit can be offset for federal debts, and so that's a distinction. The advance payment is actually more protected in that regard.
Can you give me some examples of the type of debt?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you owed taxes from a prior year, like say 2018, your advance payments wouldn't be offset. But when you go to claim the remaining credit on your 2021 return, it can be offset for that.
Okay, thank you. I think there's there's various questions about like, will this make some families have to pay taxes in the future? In other words, I think there's a fear out there, I've heard it different ways about, well, if the IRS now knows where I am, are they going to come after me for taxes in the future?
Right. Well, first of all, just to reiterate, like the advance payments are not income, so that does not give rise to a tax liability. With regard to, I think what you're saying is like, hey, I didn't file taxes for the past couple of years, and now you want me to come in and file a return to get a payment, and is the IRS going to pursue me? Well, I can't speak for the IRS, but I will say that, the IRS, well, first of all, if you didn't file taxes over the past couple of years and you're coming in through the non-filer tool, chances are you're below the standard deduction amount.
Right. Oh, you're breaking up.
Way. So you probably, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The IRS has plenty of programs to help folks who are have a liability from a prior year, and they are very, very good about working with them. So I would encourage folks to come in. And likely, Josephine, as you know, over the past year, there have been a huge increase in credits for, households. And so there is a good chance that any liability would be eaten up by those. So, so you're probably in good shape.
Thank you for that, Colin. Josie, let's take one more question and then we're going to close.
Okay, I think this is a simple one. Does this work for parents who are business owners, contractors, or freelancers with 1099?
It works if you filed a tax return, a 1040.
Okay. Well, I'd like to
I presume they would file that
Colin.
40.
Thank you, Colin, for this. And thank you, Josie. We will, in the material we send, also inform everybody who's listening of other trainings where you can continue to ask these questions. We've also summarized the Q&As so that you can get the information from others. We're going to shift now just for the last 5 minutes and talk tactics, because what we have here is a tool and information about how to do it, and the simplified tool, so you know the information, and we strove to address some of the obstacles. What we're going to try to do locally, tactically, is really work on parent messaging, trusted messengers. The research is showing us that people are not going to sign up without a trusted messenger. So information is not good enough. So just distributing flyers is not going to work. You need a trusted messenger there, and you need a navigator there who can help someone sign up. So with that, we're moving vignettes across the United States of parents telling their stories. I didn't sign up. I was afraid of X. Now I did. I realized it's okay. This allowed me to get a job. I suggest you do that. So if you have any parents who are interested in doing a vignette, they can contact me, because we are going to move stories of parents across the United States. So please feel free to contact me, because we are moving this in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to call on my colleague Melvette Hill, who is the head of parent engagement in Connecticut, and she's going to share what a state is doing ever so briefly, just so you can have a feeling for the sorts of things that are happening. And then Takoria is going to close us out. Melvette.
Hi, thank you, Elaine, and hello, everyone. So in Connecticut, we have a strategy, similar to what Elaine is talking about. We are using parents as trusted messengers. And along with those parents as trusted messengers, they are partnering with navigators in communities. So you might consider maybe a Vital Location as a partner, or other organizations that are already working with families, right? And have information that might be relevant to their financial situation. So people who are already engaged in counseling families and working with families and are trusted in community. Also consider places that families feel safe. And safe is relative, right? And so there might be a faith-based organization that you can connect with and partner with as parents and community, that you can ensure that they are on board with helping families to understand why getting the child tax credit is so important. So trusted messengers, partner with navigators in trusted places, along with language, right? So you have to have language that is comfortable for families, so their native language, their native tongue. So it's important that we all get on board and work so that we can ensure that families understand the importance of getting the child tax credit, that money in their pocket now rather than later, and also working together. So our parents that we're using in Connecticut are already connected to very large networks. Large networks of parents, or large networks within the state where they can, have easy access to families. And so I hope that this provides some inspiration to all of you. Also, don't forget social media. You're already on social media. Use your social media accounts, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is. Use your social media to get the word out, and also invite the conversation with other parents. Thanks so much, Elaine, for letting me share what we're doing in Connecticut.
Thank you so much, Melvette. And Takoria, I want to introduce Takoria, who's with the Birth Parent National Network through the Children's Trust Alliance, and she's an extraordinary parent leader who I've been humbled and lucky enough to work with. Decoria, would you close out this meeting for us?
Like Vice President Harris said, this is seismic. That means to me, this is changing the landscape of America, and not just for a little bit, but for generations. And because of that, it is our duty to help each other make this happen. I've had some issues with it. I don't quite know where I'm sitting in the world of the CTC. I'm working with the IRS and trying to figure it out, but it's not going to stop me in sharing the information. I'm going to talk to the people at the grocery store, the people at the laundromat, the people at the school bus stop, because that is where my network is. And I do encourage each and every one of you to really think about how we are changing America. We're changing America with just the conversation. With 20 minutes time and a few clicks, we can help 4 to 8 million families get more money. And money is a necessity, and that's just what it is. So I do encourage each and every one of you all to please spread the word. Get ctc.org. It almost rhymes. It's real easy to say, hey, have you heard of Get CTC.org? And there you go. We are changing the landscape together. We are making this happen for generations, not just right now, generations. And that is where the importance of this lies. Thank you all for your time today. And it's not perfect, right? But we're still doing it. It's brand new, and nothing that happens brand new is going to happen exactly according to plan. We are doing this together. So expect some hiccups or expect some questions, as you had just a lot of questions in the Q&A, and that's just fine. But we know it does work. We know families are getting it, and we know it is making a generational landscape changing difference in America.
Thank you, Decoria. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be sending follow-up information. Thank you to our speakers, and most importantly, to all who took the time to join us. We know you're going to act. This is an action-oriented meeting, and we look forward to the outcomes. Have a good evening.